Good morning and half a day. Welcome to the Guam Chamber of Commerce webinar series. My name is Catherine Castro, and I'm pleased to welcome you to today's session, all about the Pandemic Assistance Grant Program and more with GEDA. Some housekeeping rules. Our participants are on mute today. We've given you the opportunity before the webinar started to send questions to Rebecca from the Chamber. If new questions come up, please feel free to send them via the question feature located at the right corner of your screen. And the Chamber team will pass the messages to our panelists during the Q&A portion of the program. So now I'm happy to introduce our speaker for this morning's session. Melanie Mendiola serves as the Chief Executive Officer and Administrator of the Guam Economic Development Authority. She was most recently the executive director of the UOG Endowment Foundation and a co-founder and director of Farm to Table Guam. She worked for approximately 10 years in various roles in financial services as a commercial analyst, a financial advisor, and a retirement counselor. In 2013, she received the Financial Planning Association's Diversity Scholar Award for her research and work in financial planning among minorities. In 2017, she was awarded the Guam Chamber of Commerce's Guam Young Professional of the Year. And in 2018, she was awarded Small Business Administration's Minority Business Champion for advocacy for local farmers and food-based businesses. She graduated from NYU with an economics degree in 2003, obtained her MBA from UOG in 2012, and another master's degree in financial planning from Kansas State University in 2017. So let's get started. Welcome, Mel.
Happy day and thank you, Catherine, and thank you, ladies of the Chamber of Commerce.
All right, I'm gonna log off and you've got the floor, darling.
Okay, so let me see. Half a day, everyone. Half a day, and thank you for joining us. Again, my name is Melanie Mendiola, and I'm with the Guam Economic Development Authority. Everybody just calls me Mel, so please feel free to call me Mel in the chat box. I did want to mention that if you are an active grant applicant, so if you've turned in an application for a pandemic assistance grant, if you turned it in up until about, let's say, June 13th or June 6th, if you've turned it in up until about June 6th, and have not heard anything, please do let us know. You can email me at mel.mendiola@investguam.com. And if you've turned it in since then, you should have a pandemic application number assigned to you, and you'll likely hear the status of your grant application shortly. So other than that, I did want to touch on some of the other services of GEDA before I launch into what's going on with our grant program and how that's going and so on and so forth. I wanted to go ahead and start with the Guam Economic Development Authority. So the Guam Economic Development Authority is an agency of the government of Guam. We are a semi-autonomous agency. I do have a board, and my board chair at the moment is Chairman David John. And as many of you know, David John is very active in the Guam Chamber as well. And so you know him, you know likely other members of my board, including George Chu, Cisco Hutapea, Jun Espaldon, Deepak Diwan, Gia Ramos, and I think, am I missing anyone? I think that's about it. All right, and Faye, of course, not to forget, Faye Ovalis, one of our newer members of the board. Other services that GEDA provides, we provide support for the Guam Product Seal Program. So if you create products in Guam where there's substantial transformation of a raw good into a product here in Guam, you can apply to be a Guam Product Seal member. So we support that program. We also support the commercial property needs of the government of Guam. GEDA has its own government of Guam property that GEDA controls. We also have memorandums of understanding with the Chamorro Land Trust Commission and the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission to manage some of their properties. And so we do that in our real property division. Our business development division, headed by Edward Camacho, is the division in charge of our tax incentive programs, including our qualifying certificates. The most recent awardee of our qualifying certificate, which includes various levels of tax incentives, is the Subaki Tower, set to open in July. We're very, very happy and excited for that. We also have our public finance arm, and our public finance arm handles the municipal borrowing of the government of Guam, so all of the municipal bonds, as well as other forms of financing, including going after USDA loans and things along those lines. We are doing more work in the area of private activity bonds, which is where I believe the Chamber membership could come in as public-private partners of government projects. So we'd love to talk to you about things like that. But those are some of the many things that GEDA is involved with. And again, it's really, I think I think you have a friend here at GEDA. You know, I've been involved in the Chamber of Commerce since I moved home in 2005. And so members of the Chamber, most especially, should feel free to come and to utilize us in our services. So, okay, let's see. Why don't we go ahead and kick off and talk about the Pandemic Assistance Grant. Okay. So we already have a question on the panel, and let me see in the chat, and this excites me. Okay. Question for GEDA: How many have been awarded? Okay, so we've had about 2,000 applications. Okay, let's skip past this. This is just my picture. Nobody cares about that. So I'll get to that. I'll answer your question about how much we've awarded and all of that good stuff. So back to where this Pandemic Assistance Grant came from. This Pandemic Assistance Grant is part of the total coronavirus relief funds the Leon Guerrero-Tenorio administration set aside for small business relief. They set aside $20 million to assist small businesses experiencing business interruption due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Business interruption, remember that, okay? We consulted a variety of stakeholders in the creation of this program, and I've listed them down, one of which is this organization, the Guam Chamber of Commerce. We also received some feedback from the Guam Women's Chamber, the Korean Chamber, the Chinese Chamber, as well as the Guam Hotel and Restaurant Association. So we got a lot of stakeholder input in the creation of this grant program. We wanted to make it easy. We wanted to make it user-friendly. We didn't want to bog down people with too much paperwork, and we did our best to not bog down people with too much paperwork. So for the purpose of the grant, the definition of small business was gross receipts from the month ending March 2019 through February 2020 of up to $1.5 million, okay? Now, this is important, okay? So if you're drinking coffee, if you're walking around, it's important for you to sit down and pay attention to this. Coming down the pipeline, we are working towards lifting the cap to as long as your business is classified as a small business by the SBA definition. So depending on your industry, oftentimes it's depending on your industry and the number of employees. If you're classified as a small business by the Small Business Administration, then you will be eligible for the grant. This is something that we're working on. So business interruption is defined. So that's one thing we're working on with regard to small business. So right now the max is if you earn up to 1.5 million, you're eligible to apply. We're looking to lift that to as long as you're classified as a small business, regardless of your gross receipts over the period of March of 2019 to February 2020. We're looking to make you eligible as well as early as Monday, meaning today's Friday, we're talking Monday, okay? So keep in touch or stay tuned for Monday for the announcement then. We're working on the paperwork right now to get that done. Business interruption is the reduction in gross receipts of 25% or more between the months ending April 2020 and the average monthly annual or annualized gross receipts between the months ending March. And okay, so basically what this means is that if you had an interruption from the time that when the emergency declaration was declared in March, if you have an interruption of 25% or more, so if your business earned $10,000 on average a month, and then in the month of the interruption, you earn 25% less, meaning 7,500 or less, then that is classified as being interrupted by the pandemic. Now, this is where some businesses have come to us and said, well, what if my month of March was actually a great month because I collected money from work that I did in January, February. It was in April that I felt the that I felt the strain, or May that I felt the strain. And this is something we're certainly willing to work towards. By definition, under the grant program, you will likely be declined a grant. However, you can go and you can appeal to us and explain to us the flow of business, and then we can review it, and then hopefully you get a positive outcome from there. So remember, GEDA is, we're here for you. We want this to help small businesses. And so that means every small business is different. Every small business has its individual challenges. Okay. There's a question that says, I'm a Native Hawaiian-owned, service-disabled, veteran-owned small business. I started my small business in May as the COVID-19 put me out of a job. Am I qualified to apply for this grant? And the answer to that is you are not. And the reason is because the paperwork involved in the grant is showing us the last 12 months of gross receipts. And so if you don't have gross receipts since a GRT filed since at least October 1st, 2019, then we don't have enough information to be able to calculate a viable pandemic assistance grant. And it is for business interruption, not for startup, okay? Eligibility, a business must maintain a current Guam business license. Now, if you expired during the closure, then that's okay. We will go ahead and you can still turn in all your paperwork, work towards getting your business license renewed, and we'll work with you. That's not a problem. Your business must file their income taxes on Guam. Your business must have been in operation on or before October 1st, 2019, and your business must have experienced business interruption as defined above. So 25% or more. Remember my 10,000, 7,500 or below example. Ineligible entities. So currently the first ineligibility criteria, which is businesses generating a gross revenue of more than 1.5 million from March to February. This is what we're looking to lift to classify as businesses that are considered small business under the SBA's definition of small business, okay? The remaining will stand. Nonprofits continue to be ineligible. Landlords continue to be ineligible. Businesses involved in solely in passive investments, and shell companies. All eligibility is subject to review by the Guam Economic Development Authority. We do require you to fill out a grant application, which is 2 pages. I think it's 3 pages. Yeah, it's actually really 2 pages of writing, and then the 3rd page is more of just a signature. Okay, there's a grant application, there's a self-certification form confirming information submitted is true and correct under penalty or perjury. Now remember, this funding is federal funding, which means it must be utilized for business interruption. And through the self-certification form and the acknowledgement that you may be subject to post-grant audit, this is what you are signing when you sign the self-certification form. We need a copy of your current Guam business license and your GRT month-end filings from March 2019 to April 2020. It would be good practice if your business, since we're already in the month of June, if you'd like to turn in all the way through your May filing, that's fine as well. I think I see a question in the chat that says, for startups with very tiny revenue with COVID-19 stalling progress, will they qualify? No, again, the businesses must have been in existence since October. However, if you are experiencing stalling and the stalling is causing you to delay opening, causing some cash flow strain, etc., you are of course eligible for our grants as well. And I'll brush on those as well later. Okay. All applications are being accepted via email to smallbusiness@investguam.com. Again, the address is smallbusiness@investguam.com. The grant deadline is December 30th, 2020, or until funds run out. To download our grant application form found on the GEDA, you can go to the GEDA website, investguam.com/smallbusiness. Submit the completed application form and all required documents via email. What we do is we will provide you with a grant number, okay, a grant application number. Now, if you've maybe applied for the grant and you don't know what your grant application number is, you can also go back to the investguam.com website and you can download a list of grant application you can look up your grant application numbers. We've listed all the businesses that have applied in alphabetical order. So you look for the name of your business and then you can apply. GEDA will contact the applicant to verify, resubmit, and or correct required documents. Actually, if there's time, what we can do is we can go through our website and I can show you the grant application and the process. Okay. Notice of grant application status will be issued via mail, and if approved, grant award will be issued via check by the Guam Department of Administration. So now we do apologize. GEDA did have some delays in the very beginning because we received a heavy flow of traffic of applications in the first several days of the grant, but that has since slowed down. And so we're getting really caught. Everybody should have an application number up until application submitted yesterday. Everyone should have an application number, and everyone should, if you've turned it in more than 2 weeks ago, you should have some kind of status of what's going on with your grant. You might be missing documents. We might need an updated self-certification, things along those lines. Those are the most common reasons for a grant process to be stalled. Okay. The total award amount is based on grant calculation and shall not exceed $30,000 per business. We are looking, as we adjust our grant criteria to include all small businesses, as long as you qualify under the SBA definition of small business, we're looking to lift this as well to a maximum of $50,000 per business. Grant awards cannot exceed the grant amounts per the bracket as shown in the grant table, and I think we left out the grant table because that's just kind of a lot of information for this. But again, I can show you if there's time. We can go to the website and I can show you. Our help desk is investguam.com/small business, or you can email us again at smallbusiness@investguam.com. And our phone number, this is our line specific to the Pandemic Assistance Grant, is 647-4338. Again, 647-4338. We also have our general GEDA line, which you can call, but this line will take you directly to someone who has access to information concerning your small business grant. Okay, so let's kind of switch it up a little bit, and I wanted to talk a little bit about our loan programs. So our GEDA loan programs available are the Guam Development Fund Act and the SSBCI, the State Small Business Credit Initiative. These grants are up to $50,000, but if you need $50,001 or you need $50,500 or $60,000, we are willing we are certainly willing to consider your application. Okay, so don't be discouraged if you say $50,000 doesn't even cover 1 month of my operating expenses. I need $100,000. The truth is, you should come to us with your request and we can talk to you. There is flexibility with the team loan application because these are local funds, as opposed to the grant application where we are kind of boxed into the dictates of the federal government. Okay, so now the two loan programs. I'm sorry, I thought we had one more. Let me show you. Oh yes, okay, the comparison chart. Our two loan programs. I'm going to try to show you one document. All right. All right. Now, assuming you can see this, we have a comparison. Now, if you can't see it, then say something in the chat box, but you should be able to see a comparison chart. Again, this is a loan program, so this means it must be paid back. There are two different types of loan programs. We have two different types specific to the pandemic assistance, okay? These are the GDFA, Guam Development Fund Act, and the SSBCI, State Small Business Credit Initiative. So back to startups that are stalling. This is something that you may qualify for. So please get in touch with us about that since you're not eligible for the grant, you know, unfortunately. So with the GDFA, this is specific to businesses who have been turned down by at least one financial institution. We just need one declination number from a financial institution. That is the major thing here, okay? We need, the loan term is up to 7 years. The interest rate is a Treasury index plus 1%. It can be utilized for working capital, inventory, equipment, And eligibility is US citizens or permanent residents who are residents of Guam, registered businesses, valid business license, a statement of need. The state small, okay, so that is GDFA. The State Small Business Credit Initiative is a partnership we have with local banks. There are 3 local banks, the Bank of Guam, Bank Pacific, and Community First. And I've listed, let me see it. Bank Pacific, you work with Kevin Camacho. With Community First, you work with Mr. Mike Finonia. And at Bank Pacific, you get in contact with Mr. Byron Evaristo. Okay, now, the main difference between the two is if you go to with the SSBCI loan, you're actually going through a bank. So assuming you have a relationship or you're starting a relationship with a bank like Bank of Guam or Bank Pacific or Community First, you go to them with your request, they take in your application, they handle everything. The Guam Economic Development Authority is the guarantor of the bank. Now, if Bank of Guam, Bank Pacific, Community First, or any other bank for that matter turns you down, you can also always apply for the GDFA, which is a direct GEDA grant that is approved at my level or at the board level, depending on the amount. Okay, our contact is Ms. Tria Paulino, and she can be found at tria.paulino@investguam.com. You can also call, again, the number I mentioned earlier, the email I mentioned earlier. You can certainly go to those emails if you want to get more information. Now, the maximum amount, again, for either of the loans is $50,000, and the initial payments are deferred for 90 days, okay? So now, this has been in action. Our loan programs have been in place since prior to our grant program was launched. So probably right around April, the beginning of April was when we launched these loan programs. We are looking to make some adjustments to these programs. And so we're currently working with our banks to explore the possibility of doing that. We're looking at things like an interest only up until 2022 type of option. We are also looking at lifting the cap from 50,000 all the way up to 90,000, up to 100,000. Like I said, right now we're flexible, but we don't actually, publicize that you can ask for more than 50,000. So we're testing, we're doing the analysis on the possibility of raising this to a greater amount, like 100,000. And we're looking at, rather than an initial payments deferred, just making it an interest only. So these are all some of the changes that we're working on coming down the pipeline. And we'd love to hear your feedback if this is something that would be of interest to you, or if it's not relevant for you. Either way, we want to hear your feedback. Now, the thing to remember is that this is a loan, and so when you're going to the Bank of Guam, Bank Pacific, Community First, or coming directly to us, we still do need this is the eligibility. The required documents include your financials, include your financial projections, and things along those lines. If your business was in trouble prior to COVID, then it is unlikely, if your business was in trouble and unlikely to get one of these loans prior to COVID, it is not likely that you will be awarded a loan after COVID. Okay, if COVID was the nail in the coffin, unfortunately, this may not be a fit for you. And so, because I don't want it to get out there that people have told me in the past, they said, I thought GEDA approves everyone. And we said, well, if you get declined by a bank, we certainly look at you, because we realize that, business is challenging, and not everyone can fit into a box. Having said that, we really do look at your cash flow and look at the potential for you to be able to afford payments, because we don't want you to get into an even bigger hole of debt or to be more leveraged than what is healthy for you and for your business. Okay. So I think we still have time. Oh, so I wanted to answer the question earlier. Let me see. How about private contractors with a government contract? If you're a private, do you have a Guam business license? Back to eligibility, okay? Are you a small business? Do you have a Guam business license? Do you file local GRTs? If you do not file local GRTs, if you do not have a local business license and you do not file GRTs, then you are not eligible for the grant. And the question before that, how much of the 20 million? Well, okay, so we have received about 2,000 applications. We have made our way through about 1,000 of them. That has represented approximately $5 million. And so with the other 1,000, I anticipate we'll probably dole out another $5 to $7 million, which leaves us more money for the remaining small businesses as we work towards lifting the cap instead of 1.5 to 2, or rather to any business that is classified as a small business under the NACS code, under the Small Business Administration. Okay. Let me see. Okay, since we have a little bit of time, and I think how much funds still available? A lot. Probably like 8, I don't know, 7 or 8 million. We filed GRT for February using a Dropbox. We don't have a stamped copy. We reviewed an email from GEDA asking for a stamped copy. How can we provide that to you? That's a good question. Let me ask someone in our grants team how it's been done so far. Are they going to RevTax? Yeah, I believe what people have been doing is they've been going to RevTax to get the copy of their GRT from February. And I do apologize for the inconvenience with that. I know that, this is not something we could have forecasted. And just to give you a little bit of inside scoops as to what went on when we were planning this grant, we were actually contemplating asking businesses similar to a loan, give us your financials, tell us what you're going to use the money for, give us a narrative, and our board chair, David John, likes to say, keep it simple, stupid. And I don't know if he'd appreciate it if I said that. Anyway, but we thought that GRTs would be keeping it simple, but we didn't anticipate that we'd have, of course, issues like this, like people dropping it in drop boxes or filing online and not keeping copies of the schedule of payments or schedule of amounts that they filed, not just that they filed. Remember, we need to know the amount that you filed for the months of, for the period in question. Okay. So now that we have some time, let's go ahead and go to the GEDA website, shall we? And if you just give me one moment, let's see. Investment, yes, I can do that. Guam.com, okay. And that's it. Okay. So you should be looking right now at, this is the GEDA landing page, investguam.com. Okay. So this is where you're going to find all kinds of good stuff, good information. You're going to find all of the governor's press releases, all of the Joint Information Center releases, our investment incentives, information on opportunity zones, public finance and economic. So if your employer says, tell me about what's going on with Guam and the GDP, that you might find some information here. And then our different programs, including our Team Guam plan, which is the loan program, our regular loan program, GDFA, SSBCI, our loan program for farmers, Agriculture Development Fund, our grants for nonprofits, and our Guam Product Seal program, about GEDA and all the things that we get audited on, super fun. And then, okay, but because the pandemic is the focus right now, you want to go right up here to this box, Guam Small Business Pandemic Assistance Grants. So you're going to click there. Okay. So I am at the Guam Small Business Pandemic Assistance Grant Program. All of the information I shared with you today. Program information. So again, this will likely be updated in the next couple of days as we make some updates to the program, specifically to lift the cap on small businesses. The application and the steps, our information for our help desk, and our commercial, and our FAQs, how the grant award is calculated, and so on and so forth. Okay. One of the items of note is, what happens if my application is denied? If GEDA deems that a business is ineligible to receive grant funds based on the information contained, the business will be provided a written notice, and they can apply for, they can appeal this decision. What you would do is you basically write a letter to us and explain and provide supporting documentation. So again, what I mentioned earlier, let's say your business in the month of March or April did not show interruption because you collected in April, but then in May you just got completely obliterated because of the pandemic. And so this is something you could certainly articulate in your letter. If your application is denied, you can articulate it in your letter, send it our way, show us supporting documentation, your GRTs, and we can ask you for any other supporting types of documentation, such as, you know, kind of how your cash flow works from month to month. And then we'll see. We realize that business is seasonal, and these aren't one-size-fits-all situations, okay? If you wanted to see your grant application number, you hit go here, grant application number, and this will take you to download to this, and then your businesses are listed in alphabetical order. So if your business starts with the letter A, let's see, then you can check it out in here, okay? When your application was received and the time. Eventually, this will be updated with application name, grant number, date received, time, and approved or ineligible. Yeah, approved, ineligible, or status quo, or, you know, waiting on documents, that type of thing. This is the grant application, which earlier we mentioned is a 3-pager. So this is what we fill out, the grant application number. This is important when you're providing your supporting documents. For us to easily find it, remember this is one dedicated email address. And so if your application number is PAG2602, that means you are the second application received on the 26th of June. Then you should put PAG2602 GRT for the month of February, okay? GRT February 2020. That will really, really help our team in getting your application nice and complete, so that we can push you through to your approval, or to get your application complete. We need your business license name, your business ownership, so on and so forth, your annual gross receipts, okay? Your POC, this is really important, your authorized primary point of contact. We've had applicants who list the owner of the business, but the owner of the business is not the person doing the paperwork and not the one doing the GRT. So whoever your point of contact, or they'll list the person who, like, you know, the business belongs to their investor, but they're the ones doing all the work, but the investor, so when we reach out, we're reaching out to their investor who's like, why are you calling me? Okay, so this is actually happening right now. So you want to make sure that your application, your primary point of contact, is the person that is going to be able to answer questions, okay, and also provide us with the with other documents. This is our checklist. You need the grant app, current business license, the self-cert, which is right below, okay, and these are all the GRTs you need. We need the actual amounts filed, not the page that says you filed, but the actual amounts filed, because that is how we calculate your award. And the self-certification form. And the self-certification form says that I am using it for business interruption, because again, this is federal monies to be used to help small businesses with costs associated with business interruption. Grant funds shall not be used for, actually, this is a good thing to kind of touch on real quickly. Grant funds cannot be used for damages already covered by insurance, including business interruption insurance. Expenses that have been or will be reimbursed under any other federal program. So we do have people that are working from home and they're applying for unemployment. And the question we're getting asked is, does this affect my ability to get unemployment? And we say to them, this is, if you, you know, this, the real answer, at the end of the day, a grant amount is probably going to be, if you're a sole operator earning under, let's say, $50,000 a year, and you're applying for a pandemic assist, if you're applying for unemployment, in all likelihood, your unemployment will be greater than this grant. Does that mean you should not apply for one or not apply for the other. No, you should apply for as much as you are eligible for. That would be the very smart thing to do. But what is important is that you utilize the money from this grant for business interruption, and you keep the receipts associated with that, okay? And let me see, you cannot use it for reimbursement to donors for donated items or services. This is straight from the feds, guys. It's not Mel Mendiola's, killer of fun rules. Workforce bonuses other than hazard pay or overtime, severance pay, and legal settlements. Okay, so these are the ineligible uses of funds. The eligible uses of funds have to do with business interruption, payroll benefits, mortgage, vendor. And this list is not this is not a finite list. You can use it for other items. I would pay more attention to what you can't use it for, and then if what you want to use it for is not listed here, then use it. Use it and keep the receipt, and keep all the receipts for your records. Okay, and in the event that you are subject to a post-grant audit. Okay, so I have gone through the application. I've gone through some FAQs. Let me see. The overview. This is basically all the stuff in the PowerPoint. Grant calculation. Here are some examples of potential grant grant awards. So let's see here. This is a business that earns total annual gross receipts of $120,000. Okay, their award can be no greater than $5,000. So we then calculate. Let me see. 100,000, 10,000-ish a month, so 120,000. Your award can be no greater than, say, $5,000. Now, how do we calculate? This is if you've only been in business. On the right side, scenario B is if you've only been in business in September. Here's if you've been in business for the last 12 months. In the month ending April, you only filed 1,000. You normally file 10. You only filed 1,000. So how much of an interruption is that? The 90% interruption. So are you eligible for the grant? Yes. You received. Are you under the cap of 1.5 million in the past, but now a small business? Yes. Are you are you an eligible entity, meaning you're not a landlord, you're not a passive investment vehicle or a shell company? So if you're an eligible company, yes. Did you suffer business interruption? Yes. So we calculate 25% of your average monthly receipts. 25% of 10,000 is 2,500. Okay. I didn't get it. And this is how we calculate that. Let me see. And then if your business has only been in business since, let's say, September of 2019, okay, then what we do is we annualize it. So we say 60,000, you've been in business for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Then that means if you were in business for the entire year, you would have earned 120,000. You're in the same grant bracket as the one prior to. 25% is 2,500. Okay, and then this amount is certified, sent to you in a letter. You receive your letter. We then transmit it down to DOA, and you wait for a check in the mail from the Department of Administration. Okay. So I think that's about all that I have for you today. I'm happy to take questions for the remainder of the time about this or other GEDA programs. And if you have questions about the status of your specific grant applications, if you want, you can send your PAG number here. You can put PAG 123, okay? And then what the team can do is we can go back and we can reach out to you, and so that we're not just putting your private information on the webinar, right? And so if you're waiting on a status update or something along those lines, please do reach out to us. And I think that is it. So let me just. Are there any questions? Can they see me? Okay. Is a federal grant subject to review by the board? No, it's not. Another one. Can I apply for both pandemic and GDFA? Yes, you can. We encourage you to do that. We're hearing frustrating delays in feedback. Do you have enough staff to pick up calls? No, we don't have enough staff to pick up calls or respond to emails. We didn't have the funding to hire extra people from this. So we are asking grant applications to look up their grant application number on the website. Provide us with your application number and we can certainly give you some feedback on that. Have checks been approved for grants? Have checks for approved grants been released by DOA? We're sending them in. So after you receive your letter, you have like 3 or so days to respond so that we make sure we have your correct information. And then once we get that, we transmit it down to DOA. So there's a slight delay. So you could be approved today. So we could tell you you're approved today, but we're waiting on your self-certification or something, or we're waiting to, you know, in case to verify all your information is correct before we send it through down to DOA. Okay, what kind of disclosure to public is required? Okay, public disclosure, name of business. We're disclosing your grant application number, the name of your business, and the status of your application. That is all. We're not disclosing your actual grant award, and the reason for that is because then you can divide. You can basically know how much a company is earning, the gross amount they're earning. Good number of nonprofits are also struggling who are major contributors. How can GEDA help? QC certificates, CJS MOSI. Okay, so now this question regarding nonprofits, you know, this was not a decision by the Guam Economic Development Authority to leave out nonprofits. This was explicit in the guidance from the federal, from the feds in the use of this money, that this money is to be used for small businesses. So as much as I'd love to help my small business brothers and sisters, I mean, hello, I came from farm to table. They're struggling. And we're not able to help. However, okay, I do have some silver lining information. We do have our qualifying certificate community contribution grant program. We are looking to direct that to awards to nonprofits specific to pandemic assistance. We're looking to completely simplify that process, meaning what is the name of your nonprofit? How were you affected by COVID, and give you kind of a flat award based on, not based on GRTs, obviously, nonprofits don't have GRTs. If you are a nonprofit with a for-profit function though, so for example, if you are a nonprofit who owns a store and the store files GRTs, then the store should apply for this grant. That's one clarification I did want to make. What's the estimated time from release to approval? Okay, so from the time we've been transmitting down to DOA to DOA releasing the checks, we've heard has been right around the 2-week mark, right? Yeah, about the 2-week mark. Do you think I qualify? Okay, listening to you, I think I qualify. Okay, I'm a small business with a Guam license. Yes, check. Started up and know I have the market out here for it, but would like a one-on-one due to I'm pushing hard on this proposal. I need to be submitted by close of business. Having a hard time to multitask. Thank you for all this information. Yes, absolutely. You know, give us a call. I don't know if you qualify for the grant because I'm not able to tell by your message. So the question was, you know, working on some proposals, etc. I cannot tell from your question if you are in operation or have been in operation. So you may or may not be eligible for the small business grant, but you're absolutely welcome to come and work with us and get some feedback from us and getting your business going. New business trying to launch in 2020, meeting all criteria and GRTs for all those monies have been zero. Should we bother? No, you should not. You should not bother applying if you launched in 2020, or if you have not launched, then yeah, you won't be eligible. You should not bother applying. This is not a startup grant. This is a grant for existing businesses suffering interruption. I am working out of my home with no income as well as unemployment. I have receipts showing all items, supplies I purchased for my small business. So being that I started my business in April, May, do I qualify? No, you do not, because you must have been in business since October of last year. Although, you know, I do want to make a clarification. If you are a small business, even if you're a home-based business, you are eligible to apply so long as you've been in business from the time in the business requirements, which is October of last year till now, okay? So just because you're a home-based business, that does not disqualify you. What disqualifies you is that you just started up your business, and this is for businesses that have been in existence, okay? How can we check our status of grant application? Okay, so the first thing is you're gonna go to the GEDA website I just showed you. look up your grant application number and give us a call. And you say, my grant app, the fastest way to do it, give us a call and say, my grant application number is PAG 2521. And then we will share with you what's missing. Or if you want to put your grant application number up on the screen here, I can have someone give you a call also. I won't share your information here on the webinar. Do you allow direct deposit to bank for grant approved? No, we do not have that set up because of the number of awards. And this is a one-time shot as opposed to it's a one-time shot as opposed to like unemployment, which is like a bi-weekly thing. Nice presentation. Hey, thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. This is awesome. We hoping we could be granted of this funding. I hope so too. You know, there's nothing that I want more, and I think I echo the sentiments of the governor of Guam, of our Magahaga, Lulianguro, when I say that she wants doors to keep, she wants businesses to utilize the grant funding and all other services to keep their businesses open, and of course for your employees to utilize the pandemic unemployment assistance program if they need to. Okay, how does this apply to sole prop businesses that provide on-call services that don't make 10,000? Oh, yeah, no, mobile DJ man, you are perfect. As long as you have been in business since before October, you filed, I assume you filed GRTs. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to turn in your GRTs for the last 12 months as the steps in that I had described below. Definitely put in your grant application. Now remember, if you're earning $1,000 a month, $1,000 a month times 12 months is $12,000. Okay, so $1,000 a month, 25% of that is $250, which means that if you're earning $1,000 a month, your award will likely be somewhere in the neighborhood of $250. So remember, it's 25% of your average gross per month. Okay. So DJ services, I mean, people in Guam like to party, man. I would imagine that you make something, not just, I mean, even if it's not 10,000 per month, you should definitely look into applying. Is there a time frame to use the grant? No, there's not. Although business interruption has obviously business interruption as a result of the pandemic. I mean, the truth is you probably already used the money. So let's say you used your credit card, or, you know, I know a business whose AC broke down during the closure, and he had to purchase an AC. He has the receipt for that, okay? So he's gonna get the grant funding, and I have encouraged him to keep all his receipts associated with the what he's been utilizing for the pandemic grant. So have receipts. When you use it, you can stick it in your savings account, but you're still spending money on the pandemic. So keep those receipts and keep those receipts so you can match those up. To clarify, in business since October 2019. No, not for at least 2 years. In business since October 2019. That is 6 months. Okay, 6 months leading up to the pandemic. That's how long you need to be in business. 0 revenues to report. No big deal. COVID-19 has stalled progress. Okay, you should not apply if your revenues have been 0 because again, the calculation is 25% of your average gross revenue. So your average monthly revenue. So if it's been, your average has been 0, 0 times 12 or 0 times 6 is 0. 25% of 0 is still 0. So if your business has not made any money, then you know, unfortunately, your grant award will still be 0 because the determination of award is based on the gross receipts. Okay. I qualify as a private contractor. Can I apply through my crafting? Yes, if you have multiple businesses, okay. If you have multiple businesses, so let's say you own a restaurant, but you also sell some stuff on you also do some crafting on the side, or you sell some Herbalife. As long as you are filing GRTs and have business licenses for your 2 separate lines of business, you are eligible to qualify. Again, GRTs are critical. Our company has been running for several years, but have been filing 0. Okay, if you've been filing GRT 0 for the past 12 months, unfortunately, you're going to experience the same thing that the person earlier mentioned that's in startup mode. If you've been filing zero, the gross receipts are 25% of, it's 25% of your average monthly. So 25% of zero is still zero. So you can qualify for the grant. It's not a matter of qualifying, you are eligible, but the calculation will result in zero. So it will not be worth it for you to apply, more than likely. And with that, I think that's the last question I see. If there are any other questions, again, please get in touch with us specific to the grant at smallbusiness@investguam.com. You can also call me. Again, my name is Mel Mendiola. You can email me at mel.mendiola@investguam.com. And you can call our office at 647-4332.
Thank you very much, Mel. We really appreciate it. I think all of our attendees found this to be very enlightening and very informative. So we thank you very much. And you know, if folks are interested in doing something like this again with Mel and with GEDA, please let us know. We'd be happy to put something like this together again for you. So thank you again. We look forward to another great webinar in the next couple of weeks. So be on the lookout for that. And with that, we'll say good day and have a great weekend.
Can you hear me, Catherine? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I did want to mention one last thing. If you're constantly hitting a roadblock, okay, so one of the things that I'm getting some feedback from are commercial landlords who are experiencing cash flow issues as a result of renters having issues. You know, just because you don't fit in the box of this program doesn't mean that we're not listening. And so it's important for GEDA, for us to hear your feedback and the kind of difficulty you're having out there on the street, because as we continue to seek financial assistance from the federal government, as we continue to seek programs to provide some relief to businesses in Guam, we don't want to leave people out. And so just because you don't fit into these boxes doesn't mean we're not thinking about you. And I think that it's important that you speak up. You know, we've had a lot of nonprofits that came out of the woodworks. When we said nonprofits weren't eligible, they came out of the woodworks. So we revamped our community contribution program to address the nonprofits. And so I think that if you really feel compelled to say something about what's going on, please get in touch with us. Email me and let us know what's going on. You don't have to do it through the grant program because we're doing that, but just, you know, you can, if you can let us know what's going on, we can certainly bring that to the attention of the front office, as well as keep an ear to the ground as far as resources we can pass on to you.
Great. Thank you so much. Exactly. If folks out there are finding a need, we want to know about it, and we'll do the best that we can to provide the services that are, you know, to address those needs. So again, feel free to send us questions if you've got further questions for Mel or for the chamber. We're happy to address those. And so we'll say good day and have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Mel.
Thank you.
Okay. Good job. That was
Hey, thanks. How do I do this stuff? Please, I don't know how to use the webinar. Okay.